Yes, it's a witch's hat, but let me explain. Okay, so here's the story. I had a little inspiration I wanted to share with you guys. One of my favorite shows, as long as it's been on, and don't judge me for this, well, you can, what am I going to do about it, has been Ghost Adventures. And my favorite show from this year that started up was Salem. Well, Ghost Adventures is having their season finale tonight, or they're supposed to. They're kind of off and on with their scheduling. They're supposed to be tonight. And tomorrow is supposed to be the season finale for Salem. So I'm going to try and make this quick so I can go ahead and go watch my show. But I'm running out of spooky stuff to watch. So I figured, I don't know where you live, but in the South, a lot of people embrace the whole Christmas in July thing. So I thought, why not have a Halloween in July? Halloween is fun too. There are no rules.
There's no rules! Put your shirt back on. There's one rule!
So I thought, I know it's in the middle of Bookathon, but I thought maybe if you have a spooky book that you're reading for Bookathon, that can count. But maybe if you want to throw in a spooky book, just to kind of get the feeling. I mean, it's not that far away, the real Halloween, but just get you amped up for it. So I figured I read a couple of books for getting pumped up for the finale of Salem, because I had a couple witch books I hadn't gone through. So I picked up The Beginners by Rebecca Wolff that I hauled not too long ago. I'm sorry, I cannot honestly recommend this book. This was, for Salem trial fans, this was total crap. This was basically a YA 50 Shades with a very paper-thin Salem witch trial connection tied in, but it was mostly about a teenage girl and her obsession with sex, which I know. I was a 15-year-old girl at one time. I remember. I don't need to read 15-year-old porn about it. So yeah, was totally grossed out by that book. So instead I turned to an actual history book, Escaping Salem by Richard Godbeer. This is kind of cool because it talks about witch trials that happened, equally a big deal at the time, but never really made it as big into the history books. And I will have reviews on those. I'm not going to go into them right now, but I'll have reviews on those on my Tumblr page that I'll connect to this video. So if you want to check out details, you can look at that. If you have any questions, obviously, go ahead and ask me, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And if you are a fellow Ghost Adventure fan, those two guys have books. I don't know if you're aware. Zach wrote a book called Dark World, and Nick wrote a book called Chasing Spirits. I've read both of them. Between the two, I personally liked Zach's a little bit better. Nick's called his Chasing Spirit, the building of the Ghost Adventure crew, but to me it was more of like the building of his life up to the Ghost Adventure crew, and then he sort of rehashed some of the stuff Zach talked about in his book, because Zach's came out first. But they're both interesting. I just personally was a little bit more into what Zach was talking about in his book, because he talks about mythology, all that, like, I don't know, the sciencey part of ghost hunting. There's the technical side of it. He goes into that more. This is more of Nick's bio, really, but he does talk about some of the adventures, and it is worth it to read his view of some of the adventures you see them go on TV. So I'd recommend those. If you haven't read it yet, I would suggest picking up Joe Hill's Horns. This book moves pretty fast and is a lot of fun to read, and it's dark, but there's also some funniness in it. If you're not aware, Joe Hill is Stephen King's son, so if you're a Stephen King fan, I've read both of them, and personally, I like Joe Hill's writing just a little bit better than his dad's, and I like Stephen King, but I feel like Joe Hill gets the creepiness and gets to the point a lot better than his dad does, as you can tell by the length of the book. But if you're busy with Bookathon and you feel like you want to do this and you're just like, I don't know if I can squeeze another book in, I would recommend doing plays. I'm not a fast reader. I tell people I am a functioning dyslexic. I have to read passages over and over and over again before I get through a book. But with plays, I can, even as a slower reader, I can still get through them in like an hour or two. So one of my all-time favorite plays ever no surprise, Arthur Miller's The Crucible, also about the Salem trials, but inspired by McCarthyism, basically. The Dark of the Moon by Howard Richardson and William Burney. I always forget the names on those guys. This takes place in the Smoky Mountains, involves witches, and as one review says in the back, hillbilly dialect. But it's really cool and spooky, and yeah, it's like, it's I think 75, 76 pages long. So, really a lot of fun. I'm reading a zombie book for one of my bookathon challenges, so I was thinking of including that, but I was like, on the off miracle chance that I burn through all of them, not gonna happen, but if it does, why not have one on hand just in case? And I looked through my books and I thought, well, there's a lot of them I'm actually trying to save for actual Halloween month, because I have a tradition of pulling out all my spooky books that I have and going through those and reading almost exclusively spooky books for Halloween. So I didn't want to burn through a lot of those, but I did pick up this one. I picked up a few months ago, actually at the dollar store, which will surprise you in a minute when I get into the details of this. But this is a ghost story, and it's a middle grade YA book. I'm not quite sure. It's pretty big print, lots of pictures, maybe a YA book. But yeah, if you're into like the texture of books, this one has an embossed ivy jacket, a statue of a woman on the front, and then if you take the dust jacket off, grave marker engraved into the book. You can't really see it because it's all embossed in there, but it says, "Here lies the body of Prudence Geyer, beloved daughter of Christian who died in the 13th year of her life, 1712." And then the embossing continues on the back side of the book. There. And then when you open the book up, there's a cool map of the house this ghost story takes place in. I think it's the house, or the village anyway. And then there's just a lot of cool, like I wanted to show you guys this one. I think this is, you know, those pictures of the Green Man, that's kind of what that reminded me of, but it's a statue covered in ivy. This is a really cool ghost story, and the thing that surprised me was this looks all creepy and eerie and awesome, and then you read about the author in the back, and it says she's a civil engineer that works for the Philadelphia Water Department, which you would not expect something creepy to come out of a situation like that. But hey, I'm all for it. You know, you never know what people have hidden in their heads, right? So yeah, that's what I have in mind. I may get into this one before I start in on my bookathon reads, just because I was really excited. And it was one of those ones where I'm like, why have I not picked this up sooner? It's been sitting on my shelf for months. So I'll probably get into that and burn through it, you know, probably overnight. I mean, it's pretty big print, lots of pictures, so it shouldn't take me too long. There's a lot of pictures of like awful news articles. I don't know if you can see that. But yeah, there's just a lot of cool graphics in here. Recommendation by R.L. Stein on the back, that can't hurt. So that's what I was gonna offer up. There are no rules, just if you want to read a spooky book in July to sort of amp yourself up for the holiday. It's just not that far away. So just have fun with it. Let me know what you picked out if you want to do this, or you know, what you have in mind maybe for the October month coming up, if you also do a ghost story thing. Because, hey, I'm always down to find more eerie reads, so let me know, and we'll see you soon. Bye!